Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into some really interesting source material. It's basically a philosophical fight, exploring this, well, age-old question. When you're looking for truth, do you lean on the past, on the systems, the teachers, or do you have to start totally fresh, with your own experience?
Exactly. And this whole thing centers on these writings, the sayings from Crossflight Temple. People call it Ki Kolte.
Right, Kultal tea?
And you have this fierce defense from Jabez, the stupid, interesting name, head of the lodge of the Sons of Amos Brearley. But then an equally fierce attack from the Nabob of the New Order of Western Templars. The names aren't really the key thing, though.
No, it's the ideas. So you've got the traditionalist side, the Nabob, calling Kalal jumbled and muddle-headed.
And philosophically naive.
Yeah. Their big argument, and they pointed to Hegel, Gnosticism, even Blake, was basically, you're just saying stuff that's already been said, recycling old ideas.
That's the core of that axiomatic view, isn't it? The Nabob was really pushing that true seekers must use established truths, axioms. They actually said, all Buddhas stand on the shoulders of those who went before them.
History as the bedrock.
Totally. But Kolole.
Oli.
The response just throws that whole idea out.
Completely. They said, there is living experience and there are dead systems. There are living texts and there are dead words.
Wow. So prioritizing that immediate internal feeling over any external authority.
Exactly. And that opposition to sort of dead systems leads right into opposing external power structures, specifically the state.
Right. They really took issue with Hegel, the German philosopher from the 19th century.
For anyone needing a quick refresher on Hegel, he basically argued the state was like the ultimate goal, the highest thing.
And that meant the individual's supreme duty is to be a member of the state. Your whole identity is tied to submitting to that order.
Which KLT just flat out rejected.
Completely. And they also pushed back on Hegel's idea that histories move forward only by these special world historical individuals.
The great man theory.
Yeah. By focusing on self-derived truth, cult is saying spiritual insight isn't owned by the state or by some appointed genius. It's potentially available to anyone.
Okay, but if you strip away all that external authority, the state, past teachers, the systems, you're left kind of floating, aren't you, in radical uncertainty.
That's the challenge.
And this brings us to this really interesting commentary from someone called MR. He supported Kultides, but he pointed out this huge problem. If you can't trust any concepts, any givens, how can you be certain about anything? Why even bother acting?
It's the classic paradox of pure skepticism, right? And MR's response is pretty provocative.
He kind of leans into the uncertainty.
He does. He argues that if there's no ultimate certainty, then everything becomes sort of equally valid, childish mind games, lies, experience of the so-called true self. That's all on the table.
And this leads him down some really unusual paths interpreting religious symbols.
This is where it might get a bit jarring for some listeners. He looks at the Christian cross and says its adoption was genius, mainly because it's just so easy to make. 2 sticks, lines in the sand, your own body. Practicality over deep meaning, almost.
Yeah, and then he drops that line.
Yeah, the conclusion. Christ is the drug lord supreme.
Whoa.
His reasoning, or interpretation at least, is that religion acts like an opium. It manages pain, maybe expands consciousness a bit, but you have to watch out for addiction. It's using religion as a tool completely detached from dogma.
Very instrumental view. Okay, so this rejection of fixed structures, of certainty, it also applies to leadership, right? That's where DL's commentary comes in.
Exactly. DL zooms in on the KLT saying, leadership is a function that is not tied to one person.
Meaning leadership shouldn't be a fixed role someone holds on to.
Right. The argument is that rigid hierarchies where one person stays leader inevitably lead to them gathering privileges and power that aren't really justified anymore by what they actually do.
Their value becomes symbolic, not functional.
Precisely. So DL's conclusion points towards what they call fluid leadership. Hierarchies should shift, adapt. Leadership should go to whoever has the best intelligence in any given moment for the task at hand.
Not just sticking with the same person at a habit, coordination needs to be dynamic. So stepping back from this deep dive, what can you take away? We've seen these 3 main ways of thinking about finding truth presented here.
Yeah, you've got the Nabob's view, trust tradition, build on the past axioms.
Then KLC, reject all that, go for direct experience, be anti-authoritarian.
And then MR and DL who sort of embrace the resulting uncertainty and push for fluidity, even in structure.
But there's a twist, isn't there? KLT itself points out a potential problem with their own approach.
Right. They criticize metaphysical systems for being elitist, but they admit that criticism could easily apply to them the moment they write down their ideas and create their own system.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. If personal experience is the only real guarantee of authenticity, like Cult suggests, does the very act of trying to share that experience, of creating any system, even an anti-system system, does that automatically create a new kind of elite?
Or is some structure, some way of ordering and sharing ideas necessary just to avoid what they call a dog's dinner, just pure, messy, uncommunicable chaos?
Something to mull over. We'll leave it there for this deep dive.